Today we are building in a park. This is the S-Works Epic World Cup build and I'm pretty excited about it. I recently went on a gravel ride and basically crippled myself because I have a back injury. I personally think this is going to be the ultimate kind of gravel mountain bike, which is something that I always really love having, especially going into fall and winter. But yeah, check it out. The leaves are falling out here. This is a size medium frame. Where's the scale, Jimmy?
In the bucket.
The bucket?
Yeah.
I know, obviously, this is going to be compared to the Super Caliber, and we're going to do just that. We're going to compare that to the Super Caliber. So I made sure that I'm weighing it with the same amount of parts. No headset, axle, seat post collar. Let's see what this frame weighs.
1.79.
That is about 200 grams lighter than the Super Caliber frame, about half a pound weight savings to this frame. I think this is a hardtail, and Specialized says it's their new hardtail, and I know it has a shock on it, but seriously, like, this is a hardtail, and comparing this bike to the Super Caliber does not make any sense. The Super Caliber is totally different than this bike. The only thing that is comparable is the way that they look. I'm just telling you, full spoilers, this bike is going to ride nothing like that Super Caliber does. But let's get it built. This bike comes with a Sid Ultimate SL brain damper fork. This fork is 110 travel with the brain in it. Jimmy really loves the matte finish on the stanchions. I think this is the only way to get a matte finish on this fork. And since I have this in my hand, I want to weigh this too. The brain damper historically has been pretty heavy. I've been adding a decent amount of weight to the fork. This is a cut, I pre-cut this before we drove all the way out here, and I also added the crown race. So with the brain in it, we are at 1,490 grams. Weighing a 110, I can't remember what we weighed the 110 SL at. It was a previous video we did about the Sid, but if I remember right, it was about 200 grams lighter. Something around that 150, 200 grams lighter. But personally, the way I'm gonna use this bike, which is as a kind of big gravel hardtail, I think it's gonna be better to have the brain damper than a remote lockout. I don't want to press the button. This thing is amazing at small bump like it knows like whenever it needs to open. Like this bike is going to be ridden from my house, maybe on some gravel roads, maybe to the trails and back. You know, that's what this bike's going to be super sick at. Racing some gravel events in the winter here where the conditions suck. The course is kind of like, even our own gravel race that we put on, it's like you ride trail to gravel to road to gravel to trail. Like that's kind of what I really love about this bike, and honestly it's kind of part of what got me started in the sport, kind of doing these events where they're gravel. They turned into what is now called a gravel race, but it's really kind of like an adventure in the woods kind of race. So the headset has a knock block-esque feature to it. These are all the parts, and also this has an internally routed headset cabling, which I think I've talked some crap about this bike. I think it is stupid and I think it looks bad.
You think the bike is stupid, or you think this knock block is stupid?
I think that this bike is bizarre. I think that it's going to be really good for what I'm using it for. My initial thought about this bike is it's a bizarre bike. It has weird geometry, and it honestly looks kind of stupid.
Okay.
Is that a good review of this
Yeah,
bike?
I guess.
I'm genuinely excited about it. Ownership of what I've said before. It's not tested yet, so I'm gonna probably love this bike, but I'm gonna explain what parts of it I think are stupid when we get to those parts. Like I said, I cut this in the store before we trucked it all out here. I already had to make one trip back, so hopefully we don't have to do that again. The stack on this bike is actually 3 millimeters taller than than the Epic Evo. Dang it.
Dang it.
Dang it. So what that means is we slammed it, because I have that bike, the Epic Evo, completely slammed, and it works great. For me, I just raced Margie Gasick on it, and it was super comfortable. So this bike's actually taller than the Epic Evo, which is why it looks so weird, I think, proportionally. So it has this knock block collar. I don't know what Specialized calls it, but it's definitely not knock block. I'm just thinking about this, Jimmy. We should probably put the brake on first, shouldn't we? Because we have to route the rear brake through the frame. Dang. Oh, dripping. Anyway, so yeah, real quick, just gonna throw this rear hose into the frame. But if you're building this yourself, definitely the rear brake needs to be the first thing. It's just like a road bike, honestly. Like, you have to put the rear brake in.
It's like it is a gravel bike.
I think it's a gravel. I think it's a gravel bike. The rear hose is tubed to the front triangle, so you can just shove that right in there. Same thing as the Trek Super Caliber. Got the dot fluid all over my hands now. Poison. Just shooting poison everywhere.
For the people.
For the people. I have a rear brake hose coming through my top headset bearing. Everybody's dream. Why? This is not necessary. I'm not gonna like spoil that whole comparison saga we're gonna do, but like it just doesn't make any sense. Trek made Specialized makes cool looking bikes where they don't do this, and so for them to do this doesn't make any sense to me. Look at how much more we could have already been done with this step, but instead we're just playing with hoses. We want to properly preload the headset, and there might be a smarter way to do this, but this is the way I think is the best way. So do you see this piece, Jimmy? That is the steer stop mechanism. Look at it hitting that.
Yep.
What we want to do is preload the bearing so it's preloaded, and then we're going to tighten the steer stop down, because if you don't do this, your preload won't work. But yeah, that just kind of grips the fork, keeps all the steer stop tight. I think that's probably tight enough. And then we can pull this off. Then we can put the dust cover. This is another thing I've seen a lot of people complain about, is that this dust cover is all that stops anything from getting into the headset. So hopefully the headset's really good. Normally I'd be super into this kind of thing, and on this particular bike I think it's just kind of goofy. I was worried about slamming it too, because now the hose is kind of like interfering with the handlebar. So I loosened that, and then let's see if I can, yeah. It just wasn't like lined up straight with the bike. I had it crooked. I did order matching wheel decals for this bike. They just haven't come in yet. The Slick Graphics has to do like a custom decal for me on it.
Yeah, that looks straight to me.
Cool. Let's make sure the headset's tight. It is. Then we'll make sure the little collar's tight.
Knock block-ish.
I wonder what Specialized calls it. And then because we already got this pretty straight in there, I'm gonna tighten the stem down. So I'm gonna put the rear wheel in the bike real quick. Nothing different here. This is just another XXSL group. Pretty much my favorite group set I've ever owned. I have nothing but praise for this stuff. It works amazing, pretty much flawlessly, honestly. I have had no problems with multiple different bikes, multiple races, just amazing performance through and through. This bike might actually look cool. It's growing on me for sure. Me and Jimmy were talking, we have another one of these in stock. And to be honest with you, I think the black, just the no paint, I think it's helping the bike look cooler. Jimmy, what did you call it? You called it like Spaceballs or something?
Yeah, like the Spaceballs helmet.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like to me right there. Spaceballs.
These are Vittoria Torino dry, and they're the 225. I measured these to 2.35 though. They're huge, and 29 internal rim width. Super cool tire. Extremely excited to do these gravel events on it, and seems like a great tire to like have on a bike that's meant to be kind of a go fast mountain bike. Honestly, mountain biking on them, I don't even think is out of the question at all. I've had a ton of people talk to me about this kind of like monster cross mountain bike setup. Everyone always thinks to put like gravel tires on it, and that makes sense to me. The reason I go for like a big tire like this is because I don't like it whenever the bike's bottom bracket gets even lower. If you're gonna set up a bike like this and you put 40s on it, it's gonna sit so close to the ground and ride like a completely different bike. Whereas this tire has the slick center. I know it's a little bit heavier. It's gonna have the feel that the bike should. It's not gonna feel like a little needly bike. It's gonna feel like the mountain bike that it kind of is. I don't even know what should I call this a mountain bike? I think it's a mountain bike. I'm serious, y'all. I hurt my back so bad the other day on my Crux. I don't know if drop bar bikes are in my future or not.
Crux Crisis may have turned into Crux Killer.
Killed my back forever, and the rest of I'm gonna have to have surgery situation.
Dang.
Dang.
Bike looks awesome. It looks like a Batmobile.
Yeah.
Why why do you use the red grease?
I always really like Wolf Tooth's products. I used to change out every single little detail to be Wolf Tooth. And I bought their grease and it's red. I'm still on this first thing of it that I ever bought, so that's part of the reason why every time I work on a bike it looks like I'm just bleeding everywhere. It really does. And Chase always gets mad. She's like, how would you cut yourself? And I'm like, no, and it's just the red grease.
So what bottom bracket are we going with for this one? I guess that's a dumb
The
question.
same thing I always do.
Dang, I heard that King Creek made a new one.
Oh yeah, they made a press fit. I like King Creek's bottom brackets. I recently got on the phone with SRAM because this bike comes with a 168 Q factor crank. When transmission first came out, I was told that they only had dub wide now. That's not true. They make this crank in the same old standard boost that you guys have known forever. Like, this bike ships with an XXSL non-wide crank and the Q factor is 168. This Q factor is 174 and it's wide now. I have 3 other bikes and they all have wide cranks. What I did is I've gone fully wide on everything, and because this bike is not chainline 55s, none of my bikes are CL 55. What you do is you use a 3mm offset chainring to rectify that problem. Being on the phone with them, the way I've been riding all my bikes is technically completely wrong. The bike's compatible, like you can space it out. It's got a big spacer, it works, it spins, but the chainline technically is wrong. For this setup to be actually correct with the wide crank, I would need a -6 offset chainring, but they don't make that. So technically, if I were to have actually correct by the book spec bikes, they would all need to be the narrower spindle with a 0 offset chainring. That would be the correct thing for all my bikes. -3 chainring with a wide crank on a standard boost bike does work totally fine.
I'm confused.
You should be. It took me 3 hours on the phone with SRAM to figure this out. The only way you can get this crank
How do you get it?
is I bought a brand new group set just to get a crank.
Oh my gosh.
SRAM told me that they're working on it. It's a glitch in their B2B. You should be able to buy both. You should be able to buy the wide, which is CL55, and the non-wide, which is just normal. If you're trying to figure out what fits your bike, I will be able to tell you.
Making me dizzy.
Do you need to stop filming?
No, this
No.
is great.
Jimmy had a really bad crash, y'all. He's not supposed to look at screens, but he came to work anyway, and he was like, we're filming.
It's for the people, man.
It's for the people.
Headbanged all weekend after.
Would you call that a reunion show?
Kinda.
Kind of. For those who don't know, Jimmy was the lead singer of the band Haste the Day for the beginning of that band's life.
It's like I gave birth to that band.
I've maxed out the turning radius, so we know exactly how much hose it needs, which is not a lot. I think the Cockpit really makes the bike. I'm gonna make a video comparing the Trek and the Specialized Cockpits coming up here, but I will say I really enjoy both of the different options available, and this one I think is really good. But the thing that I think is helping this bike look better in my eyes is that we slammed it, and there's no turtleneck thing going on here. Honestly, I don't recommend most people slam their bike. I spent a long time studying the geometry chart to make sure I can slam this bike comfortably. I need the medium frame because my legs aren't long, but my torso's long, so then I end up slamming it, and that's usually how my bike fit comes to be. Some, like the Super Caliber, I couldn't slam. It's a little bit lower. This bike I can. It's about 10 millimeters higher than the Super Caliber stack-wise. But because we've slammed it, it doesn't have any turtleneck and the aesthetics are way better, which is cool for me. I don't think it's cool for most people who probably won't slam their bike, and I'm a little torn on it. Right now I'm kind of in love with the way this thing looks, which is very different from what I think of it in a lot of the promotional photos that I saw, especially the way that they routed the cables. I think that if you're gonna do internal headset cable routing, you gotta cut it really short. Like if you're gonna have it go in the headset, cut it as little as possible. Why have it still like wrapped around whenever you have it going into the headset?
If you wanted to buy that cockpit, where could you get something like that?
I don't know, they're sold out across the whole US.
The bicycle, sorry.
We should do an ad though. And hey y'all, if you've been enjoying our videos, please check out our website, thebicyclestation.com. We have tons of awesome bike products in stock right now. And the cool thing about our website is that if you see it on our website, it is in stock. We do not do back ordering. We do not do waiting. It is shipping within 2 days of ordering. And check it out, link below. Thank you for all the support. We lost too much fluid. That's okay. I'm pretty happy with the length of that hose again. It shouldn't, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just totally stuck in place. You know what, this one is awesome. These are the Level Ultimates 2-piston. Because this bike is a hardtail gravel machine, I think that they're like marginally lighter, but why not? It looks cool, it's black, it matches. Looks are the most important thing to any bike build.
Fashion over function.
Fashion always.
Jesse, are you ready for the beef?
Yeah, I'm getting ready. From the day I saw this bike, it breaks a rule in my head here. Whenever we went wireless drivetrains, we went down to 2 hoses and it looks super cool. I know you can see this hose, but realistically it's pretty much gone. So now we have 1 hose flopping around just kind of by itself. I've seen people pull this one really tight. I feel like it needs a little bit or else it looks really dumb. But so now it's like, okay, we got 1 hose flopping in the wind. I think that if we're gonna put hoses through the headset, you got to put both hoses.
I agree.
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing? All you got to do is put it through the it's already got a steer stop. So like the bike will not rotate past this point. What it needs is you put the hose in through the steer tube, down the bottom and to the back. I just feel like if we're going to do headset cable routing, why are we not doing the whole thing? I'm wondering what side makes more sense. Would you run the hose through the center of the damper or through the center of the air spring? Whatever one makes more sense is what I think they'll do. And even if they have to swap the damper to the left side to have the brake on the left side, I think running it through the damper probably makes more sense. I want to see the hose run through the fork and out the bottom, basically. Now we have a complicated thing that I think makes the bike look not symmetrical, and that's my big beef with this bike. All that aside, this bike is looking really sick though. I'm kind of feeling that. Very fortunate to get to complain about my new S-Works mountain bike. We're not all the way ready for headset cable routing on mountain bikes. It just doesn't seem like a refined thing to me, and I know that's a super common opinion, and so I don't know why we're doing it, you know? Like nobody's like stoked on this. I'll be the first one to be stoked on it if it makes sense. I love road bikes with internal cable routing. I love them. Absolutely adore them. And I'm not even worried about servicing this. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm mad that it's aesthetically uneven.
I'm angry.
You should be angry. They're half-assing aesthetics. That's what the problem is. I'm ready to be positive again. I just don't think it makes sense. And that's just me. Jimmy just asked me why we have another hole here, and it's for a shift cable, but actually it's because of Shimano. Shimano is 10 years behind the 8-ball when it comes to mountain bike drivetrains. I'm not here saying that Shimano's drivetrain doesn't shift well or doesn't work well. What I'm saying is that bike manufacturers have to compromise their bikes. They're so far behind. I don't know what the hell Shimano's doing. It's been a rough couple months for them. It's been a rough couple years for them, and I hope they can bounce back because I know a lot of people love Shimano. But yeah, the reason this hole is here is because of Shimano drivetrains. They could cut weight on this bike if they got rid of it, because there's a whole tube in it. So they have this isn't weight. There's a whole tube that runs through this and into here for the rear shift cable. I think every bike should be like that, but a $13,000 super high-end mountain bike, like, it doesn't need a shift housing. Shimano probably added 25 grams to this bike. Thanks, Shimano.
Thanks, Shimano.
I think Shimano hopefully will come out with a new drivetrain, and hopefully it's amazing. XTR and XT are great drivetrains, but again, like SRAM is blowing my mind with every new product they make, and their ecosystem is so robust, and Shimano just doesn't have anything, in my opinion, to really answer to SRAM right now, and I hope they do, because competition's better for the whole industry. 118 links with setup key A. I think that's it. So this is my Epic World Cup. Before we weigh it, again, if you guys need anything, click the link below, thebicyclestation.com. We'll ship you whatever you need. Check it out. This thing turned out pretty cool, and let's see how much it weighs. 22 pounds. I'm holding it the wrong way.
It's like 22.8.
And that's with dropper, bigger platform pedals, computer mount, bottle cages. You can trust us to weigh it with all the extra parts that you need to ride a bike. Let me know what you think about this build. Every time we build a bike, we're gonna do 3 videos. We're gonna do a build, we're gonna talk about the first impressions like after a month or so, and then we're gonna do a long-term review. I'm gonna get into the suspension setup in that second video, so don't worry if you're looking for that, just stay tuned. Expect about 3 videos per bike and maybe some comparison video going forward. Epic World Cup, excited to race this one this weekend. The Cutters Grand Fonda probably will have already been happened by the time this video goes out, but thanks for checking this build out.